Hi, I'm Juna Oliver, and today I'm going to show you how to make a light show with Godot. So I'm 16 years old, I'm from London, but I live in the Netherlands, and I'm the lead of the lighting team at my school. We do some theatre, but mostly music nights, so we might have maybe 20 songs in a music night, and each one of them needs their own light show. When we take a song, we usually split it down into sections. So maybe you have an intro and a verse and a chorus and an ending, and we'll have many more sections than this. And each of those sections will have a cue. And what a cue is it's just a set of all of the lights. So maybe all of the colors and all of the brightnesses of all of the lights just stored into one, that's a cue. So you can see here we have Q1 with our green lights, we have Q2 a little later in the song with the orange and yellow lights, we have Q3 a little later in the song with white and blue lights. But how do we know when to change cue? So the first solution you might come to is where you can put them all on a timer. Songs are rigid and put into a timer, so that makes sense. Except what if your musicians play too slow? What if they repeat a verse? What if something goes wrong? So your only real solution is to do it manually. But how do you know then when to change the cue manually? Because you've got 20 cues in each song, you've got 15 songs, that's a lot to remember. The first solution I came up with was, okay, take a text document, copy across the cues, write in when I need to change cue, copy the lyrics, it's all in there. And this kind of worked, but it was a bit janky, and in the end, I came to a realization, and this is something that connects us all here today. We're creatives. We can just create stuff. So this is what I created. I call it AutoCue. It has a bunch of features and workflow features for all sorts of things to do with organizing music night. And I wanted to quickly cover a few Godot features that made this possible, including the window node, code edit node, and Godot's responsive UI framework. So first off, for the window node, I've realized Nicholas Perez is going to be discussing this in another lightning talk tomorrow, but I just wanted to go over the very basics briefly. So when you're setting up a window node is going to be like a separate window on your desktop, and all the children of that window will appear within that window. And this could be even like a viewport, but it could also be control nodes, UI. And the way you'd set this up is you just put a window node into your tree. You go to your project settings, go to window, and then embed sub-windows, and make sure that is turned off, that it is disabled, and only then will it work. Another feature I wanted to go over real quick, which is very useful, is the code edit node. And this has a bunch of features. I listed like a couple of them on the screen. It's a child of the text edit node, but it has a bunch of extra features. So if you're ever making software, this is like a really useful way of building a text editor. And I wanted to cover as an example how you'd set up the code highlighting feature. So first off, you would go to your file tree and you'd create a new resource. And what resources are in Godot is resources can be a lot of things. So let's say you want to create a mesh node and you want to set that node to be a cube mesh. Then that cube would be also a resource. But the resource we want here is the code highlighter resource. And all you have to do is you have to go to the code edit and go to the inspector and set this as a source in there. And write a bit of basic code that takes the resource from the file path and sets the property on it to a dictionary of like a string and the color. So say, for example, if I took a hash, then this would be any line beginning with a hash would turn to this color. But there are like loads of features that work like this with the code edit. It's very useful. And you can even use it to create your own like IDE within a Godot project. So the last Godot feature I wanted to go over was its responsive UI framework. So Godot has, if you've opened like a web page and you see how all the elements of the web page like move around and resize themselves when you resize the window, Godot also has this functionality, and I don't see it used very much. But the way it works is the parent node determines the behavior of all of the children nodes, just like in HTML. So let's say I had a parent node, and this is going to be a grid container. Anything I then put into that grid container is then going to be put into a grid shape. but also when you're working with responsive UI, and this is a mistake I made the first time, you've got to make sure everything has like a minimum size, because nothing is going to show up unless you assign it a size first. All right, so what we've covered is we're creatives and we can just create stuff and some Godot features. And I also wanted to work on some more stuff about how lighting actually works and what I'm currently working on. So first I wanted to explain DMX. So this is a serial format that lets you send data to your lights. And this is over one cable. You have all the data for all the different lights split into separate channels. And this means that you can send cable to light 1, and then light 1 to light 2 to light 3, and daisy chain it together. And they're all sending the same data across those cables. And each light only listens to the channels assigned to it. So what you can do is you can take something like OLA, open lighting architecture, and you can... And what this does is it takes UDP packets as inputs, and it can convert them to DMX output just by using a USB to DMX converter. And UDP packets, these are just networking packets, so you might use them over the internet, for example. And you can use Godot's peer package UDP function simply to just like send those packets easily. And the last thing I wanted to cover is the fact that you can create a visualizer in Godot. And this is very unique to this kind of software, because because Godot obviously supports 3D games as well, and this means that you could create within your software a visualizer of a 3D scene of your stage, for example. So you could go and like make a light show while at home, and then go back and play it back in real life. And that really comes around to one important thing I really wanted to say, which is you can use Godot to make all sorts of things. I mean, I think I've proven that here as well. There's all sorts of stuff you can do with Godot. You can make software, you can make whatever you like. And ultimately, like, I think it's important that you never worry too much about doing the perfect thing or making the perfect framework or doing everything in the perfect way. Just that you get out there and actually make something. And I think Godot is an amazing framework for that, which has all of these features thrown together that you can use to create something. So go and make stuff. That was my talk. Thank you.